You ever tell a story that usually lands, gets the laughs, the nods, maybe even a few wow moments? But then one day you're halfway through and realize this room, they're just not with you. No nods, no laughs, just blank stares and the emotional vibe of a DMV waiting room. It's brutal. And it makes you question everything. Was it the story? Was it you? Now, here's the part that most speakers never figure out. It's not that your story's broken. It's just that you didn't adapt it for the audience in front of you. That's what we'll be tackling today, because you don't need 17 different stories for every stage, every podcast or sales call. You just need one story that's shaped right for each audience. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to take your go-to story and make it work everywhere without sounding fake, robotic, or over-rehearsed. Now, if you're new here, I'm Lord Al Jensen, the founder of Next Stage Communications. Since 1974, I've delivered more than 7,500 talks across stages, pulpits, boardrooms, ballrooms, and yes, even one regrettable brunch buffet in Burbank. I've coached TEDx speakers, I've guided entrepreneurs, pastors, politicians, and professionals who are sick of playing small with their message. And if there's one thing I know, it's this: stories are your most powerful tool if you know how to adapt them. And because I don't just want to inspire you, I want to equip you. I've created a no-cost resource to go along with this episode. It's called the Story Switch Up Workbook, and I'll walk you through how to take your story and reshape it for any audience or any platform. You'll find the link in the show notes, so grab it now or after the episode. Just don't skip it. Here's what we're diving into today: why your story falls flat in certain rooms and what to do about it, how to adjust the setting, the language, and tone of your story without losing the heart, and the story switch method that you can use to tailor your message for keynotes, panels, podcasts, and even webinars. This isn't just about story. It's about reach. It's about resonance. And it's about making sure your message actually lands. Let's talk about something that almost every speaker, every coach, and course creator gets wrong when it comes to storytelling. They think the problem is their story. It's too old. It's not dramatic enough. I need something more impressive. Or my personal favorite, I've already told that story before. Nope, that is not your problem. The problem isn't the story, it's the fit. Because stories don't live in isolation. They live in context. And if you don't know how to shift your story to match the room, the result is almost always the same: blank stares, missed opportunities, and a talk that gets polite applause and zero follow-up. Now, I've seen this happen with brilliant speakers, folks with real results and raw talent who deliver a story that should work, but doesn't. Not because the story was weak, but because it wasn't shaped for the people listening. It's what I call a story mismatch. If you've ever told a story that usually lands, only to have it flop on a podcast or in a breakout room or during a virtual summit, you've experienced that firsthand. Here's why it happens. Most speakers treat their story like a script. They learn it once, they rehearse it hard, and then recite it the same way over and over, whether they're in front of a 10,000 person audience or 10. And at first, that seems smart, right? Efficiency, consistency, less prep time. But the truth is that one-size-fits-all approach, it's lazy. And worse, it kills connection. Because what works in one room won't necessarily work in another, not without a few strategic tweaks. Now listen, I'm saying you need to know how to shape your story, like clay, not concrete. Let me break this down. There are three areas where great speakers make the shift and average ones don't. Number one, audience awareness. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself, who's in the room? What do they care about? What are they tired of hearing? What kind of language instantly turns them off? Let me give you a real example. A client of mine, a leadership coach, was speaking to a room of mid-level managers at a national healthcare conference. His go-to story was about landing a massive corporate client after years of struggle. He led with revenue numbers, with business wins and scaling language. And guess what? The room didn't care. They were not entrepreneurs. They weren't trying to scale. They were trying to lead burnt-out teams. They were trying to meet insane deadlines and keep morale up without losing their own minds. So we reframed it. Same story, but instead of focusing on closing the deal, he focused on how he regained confidence in his voice as a leader. Same arc, different lens. And this time, the audience leaned in. They got it. They saw themselves in the story, and that's the power of knowing your audience. Number two, context swap. Your story doesn't always need to be changed, but the way you frame it does. Let's say your story is about launching your first course. In a room full of online business owners, talk about your cart, your email list, your failed promo. They'll get that. But in a room full of corporate leaders, the same story becomes a moment where you realize you are relying too much on tools and not enough on trusting your message. If you're in a nonprofit setting, the story shifts again. It becomes about believing in a mission even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. You didn't change the events. You just changed the angle. That's what I call strategic reframing, and it's the backbone of the story switch method. Number three, tone and tempo. This is one that even seasoned speakers sometimes overlook, because the way you deliver your story, the pacing, the tone, the level of polish, it matters just as much as the content itself. Now, if you're on a big stage, you need more energy. You need space between story beats so the room can breathe with you. You punch the pauses. You stretch the tension. You give the moment weight. But if you're on a podcast, that exact same story told with that same pacing sounds fake, sounds polished, too performed. On a podcast, the win is intimacy. You want to sound like you're telling a story across the kitchen table, not a theater balcony. And in a sales call, the story needs to sound fresh, like you just remembered it, not like it's been laminated on a speaker sheet for the last 5 years. Same story, same message, but how you tune it changes everything. And here's the kicker. Once you know how to do this, you don't need to keep writing new talks. You just reshape the one that works. You keep the core. You change the coat. And if you're thinking, okay, Al, that makes sense, but how do I actually do it? Well, that's what the workbook is for. I built the Story Switch Up workbook to walk you through exactly how to take one of your signature stories and adapt it across different audiences and platforms. It's not fluff. It's not theory. It's straight up tools, prompts, and templates that you can use today to get out of your head and into the hearts of the people that you're talking to. And you'll find the link in the show notes. So go grab it. It'll make everything we're talking about right now just 10 times easier. And coming up next, I'm going to show you this process in action. I'm going to take one real story and break it down 3 different ways so you can see exactly how to adjust the framing, the language, and tone without killing the meaning. And if you're already nodding along, thinking, yeah, I need to learn how to do this for real, well, then keep listening, because what's coming up next We'll show you how to go from I kind of know what I'm doing to I own this message in every room I walk into. Let's take this from theory to practice. I want to show you exactly how one simple story, nothing dramatic, it's not like I survived a plane crash and built a billion-dollar brand. It's how you can work in completely different rooms by making just a few intentional switches. Let's say your core story is this. You've launched your first offer, but nobody bought. You panicked, you regrouped, and eventually landed your first client, and then everything started to shift. That's it. It's a clean arc. There's real emotion and a transformation that people can connect with. Now, here's how it changes by audience and platform. Version number 1 for a podcast for early stage entrepreneurs. You keep it raw. You talk about the fear, the silence, the awkward feeling of refreshing your inbox and seeing absolutely nothing. You slow it down. You make it intimate because podcast listeners want real. They want the human side. They want to know that you've been there. So you drop the polish. You talk like a human. And now the story resonates. Version number 2, if you're speaking to a corporate leadership group, same core, different emphasis. You don't talk about launches and offers. You talk about communication breakdowns, assumption gaps, and what happens when leaders skip feedback loops. You tie the lesson to leadership, clarity, and follow through. It's the same story, but now you are in their world, their language, their lens, and suddenly it matters to them. Version number 3, a keynote at a conference. Big energy, bigger beats. You stretch the emotional tension. You walk them through the moment. I hit send on that first offer and immediately felt like I might throw up. You punch the pause. You let the moment hang. Then you flip it with humor or twist before you land the lesson. Because keynote stories need pacing. They need performance. It's still your story, but now it moves people. And that's the magic of the story switch method. You don't need a dozen stories. You need one that knows how to shape shift. And if you're tired of guessing how to make your story work across platforms, if you've ever thought, well, this used to land, why isn't it hitting now? Or if you're rewriting your talk from scratch every time someone asks you to speak, you need this. I built the Story Switch Method mini course to solve exactly that. Inside, you'll learn how to identify your story's unshakable core, how to match your delivery to your audience, how to adjust your tone and pacing based on where you're speaking, and how to shape your message without second-guessing yourself every step of the way. You'll see real-world examples. You'll get my plug-and-play blueprint, and you'll walk away with a signature story that you can use anywhere. And yes, it's only $37. It's not a subscription, not a funnel trap. It's just one powerful tool for your speaking strategy. Start with the free workbook. That's your clarity builder. And then, if you want to own this skill, the mini course is waiting. Both links, well, you already know, right there in the show notes. Up next, I'll give you a full recap, one takeaway to lock this in, and your next move if you're serious about becoming a speaker who doesn't just tell stories, but actually moves people with them. So here's what we've covered today. We started with a question that a lot of speakers wrestle with, but rarely say out loud. Why does my best story crush it one day and fall flat the next? Well, the answer? Not the story. It's the switch. Your audience changes. Your platform changes. And if your delivery doesn't change with it, even your strongest story can get ignored. Today, I showed you exactly how to fix that. How to identify your core message so it never gets lost. How to reframe the context of your story without watering it down. How to match your tone, language, and energy to the room that you're speaking in. and how one single story can stretch across keynotes, workshops, podcasts, client conversations with just a few smart adjustments. And this is not about reinventing your content. It's about learning to own the story that you already have and learning how to tell it in a way that lands. Because when you do that, you stop second guessing yourself before every talk. You stop scrambling for something new every time you book a gig, and you start sounding like the real deal, no matter the room. And that's what this episode is really about. It's about ownership, owning your story, owning your delivery, owning the skill of shaping your message to fit the moment. So let's talk about next steps. Step number 1, grab the Story Switch Up workbook. This is your tool for putting what we've covered today into action. It'll walk you through how to adapt one of your existing stories for 3 different audiences or platforms so you can stop guessing and start shaping. Think of it like a field guide for your own story. It's short, it's clear, and it works. You'll find the link, how to grab it, in the show notes. So grab it today and keep it handy. Step number 2, if you're ready to go deeper, and I mean really lock this in, if you want to learn how to reshape your story like a pro and actually feel confident using it wherever you speak, then get the Story Switch Method mini course. Inside, I break this down step by step. We'll walk through how to take a raw, real-life story and pull the right lessons out of it. How to shape the story based on your format, be it keynote, podcast, Zoom call, or whatever. And how to deliver it in a way that makes people feel like you're speaking right to them. It's not theory. It is not fluff. It's what I teach my private clients, and right now, it's only $37. Nope, that's not a mistake. It's just a no-brainer, because once you learn how to switch your story, you stop sounding like a one-note speaker, and you start sounding like a leader with a message that adapts, connects, and converts. So whether you're just starting out or whether you've been doing this for years, this is one skill that'll serve you for life. Grab the workbook, check out the mini course, and then go tell the story that only you can tell in a way that your audience can actually hear. Now, before you go, if this episode has helped you see your story in a new light, hit subscribe, leave a review, and send this to the coaches, the course creators, and speakers in your circle who need to hear it. Because their story matters. Your story matters. But the way you tell it, that's what makes it stick. That's what makes it convert. That's what gets you booked, gets you remembered, and referred. So let's build your message. Let's shape your story. And I can't wait to see you on the next stage.